Hello guys, so welcome back to our class. So we're very sorry that we've not been conducting our normal user class. Okay, so due to some technical issues. Okay, so we've not been doing that. So we are very sorry. So we are back. Yeah, we are back. But this will be in a recorded format. So in a recommended format. So how have you guys been? And how have you guys been doing? So you can drop a comment in the comment section. So what we want to discuss today is actually based on US documentation. So what we call what is known as US documentation is uh like it's the same as what we call the design case study. So what is known as design case study. Okay, so a design case study is just like a concise or uh, a brief about everything you have in your design from the stage one to the final stage, okay, to the stage you are. Now, this is what design UX documentation actually means. It acts as a single sort of truth, allowing anyone within the team or wider organization to understand the scope of a project. So that design case study will be like in form of a documented format where you have a lot of things in your design case study. A lot of things like your user research, your sketches, your mockups, your prototypes and everything. Okay, so in your case study. So but what are the importance and why are we creating it? Because it acts as a single sort of truth where user can, I mean, everybody involved in the team, like other designers, other developers, even the stakeholders, to understand the scope of the project you guys are working on. Okay, so how the design decision were made, the decision that were made, how was it made, and what the outcomes were. Okay, so the outcomes, maybe that's talking about maybe after you've created the usability testing, after you've tested the product with users, and what was the feedback you got. Okay, so everything should be included in your what, in your design case study or US documentation. So it's also known as case study. Okay, so we call it design case study. So importance of creating this US documentation. Why are we doing it? Okay, so it's an organizational memory. Okay, is like a document whereby you can make reference on. You can just go on it and try to make reference on it. Okay, so even at any stage of your of the journey, okay, also onboarding and handover to new teams. If you want to onboard the design or you want to hand over the design to the new teams, okay, so if you guys just have a case study whereby they can make reference on, so it will be very very nice. So it also serves as a single sort of truth. Like we said earlier, it allows anyone within the team or wider to understand the scope of a project. Now, it foster better communication and collaboration. So if you have a particular single sort of truth, a particular document whereby you can make reference on, even the US documentation also includes your design systems. Okay, so maybe they just need anything, they can just go to the US documentation to get that. So it foster better communication between you, the other designers and developers. Okay, so that's part of the importance of what you should have in your design case study. So we also have things in design case study on your US documentation. What are the things that are necessary in your US documentation? Okay, so these things that I made mention of here are not, it's not really limited to all of this. Okay, you can add more, but these ones are very important to have in your design case study. Okay, so that design case study is not just for uh you guys on the team and the developers, the stakeholders, not just for that. Okay, so you can make reference to it maybe whenever you're applying for a new role. Okay, that's what the recruiters or the hiring manager get to see and get to understand how you work on your design and how you make design decisions. Okay, so that's what they focus on. So that design case study is not just for that. So as a young designer or as a learner or somebody that is still working on building portfolios. So if you are creating a case study, try to make it broad as enough, not complex. Okay, so just make it broad and it should contain every information, anything, any damn thing that you worked on. Okay, along the journey, you should involve everything in the design case study. Okay, so that means it's not just all of this. You can still have your user flow, your all of your US document, US deliverables, like your user persona, your user flows, your user stories, user journey map. Okay, so those things are very, very much more important. But these are the words that has high priority. Okay, so you should have user research. Okay, so user research is very, very important to have in your US documentation because it includes the strategy, the plans, the goals, the objective, and the reports of your user research. Okay, so reports in the sense that after creating a user research, what was the outcome? Okay, you have a survey report, you have interview report. Even after your usability testing, for instance, you have a feedback collection. Okay, so like a kind of a feedback of what you got. That's also part of the report. So, and most importantly, the strategy you use. Okay, so it could be that you work on design thinking process where you have your empathize design thinking, like your empathize define ideas, prototype, and testing. You should also include that. Those are the things you make use of in your design. Okay, so that's the part of the user research. Then we move on to initial concepts and sketches. So you have some initial concepts of assumptions and challenges you face, right? So I mean assumptions and kind of sketches. That's where you include your low fidelity wireframing, where you sketch out ideas and you talked about how you and why you made this decision. Okay, so in sketching, most importantly, that's where you talk about how you make decisions. Okay, what was the reason you make this decision. So you talk about that. Then after that, after your research, you have something we call US deliverables, and part of the US deliverables is information architecture. So what does information architecture means? We all know that it's a kind of a section whereby you try to arrange or organize your informations to be readable and clear. Okay, to be organizable and clear, right? So whereby you organize everything, okay, based on every other sections. So we also have wireframes and mockups. You should include wireframes and mockups too. Okay, your low fidelity, mid fidelity, everything should be on it. And prototypes. Okay, so prototypes, your high fidelity prototypes, how it actually looks like, and what you are going to be giving out, right? So the real design. Okay, so you can also include something like a video of that prototypes. Okay, you can use that. You can create that with your you can create that with any recording tool, any video recording tool, like the one I'm using here. Okay, you can use Loom to do that too. So you have usability testing reports. What was the report? Okay, what was the feedback you got? And design systems. Okay, so we talked about what design system is. So we talked about the design system being something we call it's like a document that includes your reusable functional components. Okay, it also includes UI kit, component libraries, and what's called the style guides of the design that include the colors, typography, shadows, grid system, and the likes. Okay, so you should have that in your case study, in your user UX documentation, or we call it your design case study. Okay, so recommendation for handover. Okay, so now you understand what you should have in your design case study. It's just like everything you've been working on. We are not bringing anything new to this. Okay, so what we are just emphasizing on is that to make everything to arrange everything, right? Just to make a document for it, to have is like a reference of everything you've been working on. Okay, so we also have recommendation for handover. So how do you hand over your design to probably developers or handing over some other teams? By creating Figma commenting. Okay, you can drop a comment on your Figma whereby if anybody comes into the Figma file, they get to see what you mean by this. You can just drop a comment of, okay, this was this supposed to be, this was supposed to be. Okay. Also notes on pages. So you can have a frame to create that, or use sticky notes if you know that you want to create a note for something. Then we also have loom, where you can create a recording. Like I said earlier, that you can create a recording for your prototypes. Okay, so that's the part of how you can hand over. So we also have Notion. You can use Notion to create a case study, okay, or to have a documented files about the project. Okay, so we use that. Or developers can use inspect or dev mode. It's now known as dev mode in your Figma, whereby when I click on the inspect mode, they get to see the properties of a particular element. Okay, so that's part of ways you can hand over the designs. Okay, so we also have something we call US documentation red lines. Okay, so that refers to the literal guides, which are often red lines. So whenever a developer is mostly based on developers or users, I mean designers too. Okay, so where you get to see the spacing or the margin of a particular element. Okay, so when you click on a particular element in your design, you get to see what are the words, spacing and everything using Shift Alt. Okay, when you click on it, you use Shift Alt to understand that. So let me show you guys uh what a case study actually looks like. Oh, sorry, let me check my internet. Hmm. Sorry, guys. Okay, so let me show you this one first. It's not loading. Let me load this one. Sorry. Okay, so I have a case study here. Okay, so this project was actually based on creating something like an AI assistant into our WhatsApp, just to make it more, just to increase the user experience of WhatsApp. So I created something. Okay, now before we go into it, we have something like a cover page. So this is what the cover page looks like. So whenever probably you want to download an app, and you just go to your Play Store or your App Store, then you get to see like a preview of what you should be expecting. So this is just like the onboarding of your case study. Okay, so the first cover page. Now you need to make it more beautiful, because even that symbolizes that your design is okay. Okay, that your design is pleasing and is worthy to read. That's not something that will waste recruiter's time or the reader's time. Okay, so you should have something like a beautiful cover. Okay, so that just say a brief about what your design is. Now I have something here, the project overview. So like an overview. It's part of the research, right? But it's just like the overview of what the reader should be expecting in your case study or in your project. Okay, so the overview. So I talked about WhatsApp, right? So I just made mention of the overview of the project. Then you can make mention of your role or tools you use and the project timeline. So your role, it could be that you are not the only one that created that case study or that created that product. Okay, so you can just include your own role and the tools you use. So every damn tools are very, very important. So it could be that you created a quantitative research whereby you introduce surveys, right? These are surveys and you sent out surveys. So and you make use of Google Forms or Typeform, for instance. So you should include that here under the tools. And the duration it takes you to complete the project, not just the case study. Okay, so the project timeline is what is expected to be here. So it depends. This is just my own format. Okay, it could be that you see another case study that is not even structured like this, but these are kind of important things you should have. Okay, it could be that it's not structured like this, is another way around. It depends. Now we move to something we call problems and user pain points. So okay, like I said earlier, that is not really limited to this. You can have some other information on it. Okay, but for the purpose of this work, okay, so I created the problems and user pain points, because we already know that WhatsApp has been existing and people are using it. Okay, what's now the problem? What am I doing here? What's the case study based on, and what am I doing? So I emphasizes on the problems and user pain points. Okay, so in your design, you should have something like in your case study. So you should have something like the problem statement or and the solution. Okay, this is just for my own problem statement. Okay, so I talked about few things I want to address, right? So and the problems users are facing and few things I want to address. So then that takes me to the research. So what was the research and how did I come up with the research and everything? So to address these challenges I made mention here, this one, the problem statement, a proposal focuses on intuitive interface backed by extensive user research, so surveys, interviews. Okay, I've made mention of kind of research I made. Okay, so and also after that, you can just include something like your research reports. You can have something like um your survey reports. Okay, so on that or screenshots of your surveys and what was the response well. Okay, so we also have objectives. So like I made mention, I said in your in your user research, you should have objectives. Okay, that's the goal of your project. So I have that. Okay, the objectives and also the design process. So that's just like a strategy I use, right? So the discovery, this is just like the design thinking process we used to have. Empathize, define ideas, prototype and test, right? So this is just how it looks like in this other format. You can just use images to include us just to make it more pleasant. Okay. So if you are working on a case study, first thing you need to do, you already have all the information. Explore how people create case studies first and try to focus on a particular format you want to use. That's just it. Okay, you can't just say that you want to create a case study and you just go and create it like that. Try to see what people are doing, okay, and see how you can improve on it and just put in your own information and it's fine. Okay, so like I said, you can also include US deliverables like your advertise user personas. Okay, so I have my user flow here. Okay, we all know what user flow is. So in some other complex design whereby you have a lot of user flows, like a very long one, you can just include something like user flows of importance features. Okay, user flows of important features that are expected to have on the platform. Okay, so you can just include that. Then that takes us to I have style guides. Okay, so that's part of my design system. Okay, so I made mention of design system here. Okay, so that's part of the design system style guides. So I have my color here. This is just based on the colors I use. Okay, so it depends on how you want to do it. Okay, like I said, explore different case studies first. Okay, but probably I'll be dropping a link under this video in the comment section. Link to uh very good case studies. Okay, so quality case studies. I'll be dropping that. So I also have typography. Okay, this is some of my typography and some other things. You can also include for your design components. Okay, so let me check if I'm still okay. So for your design case study, okay, so you can also have your design components where you have a lot of design components like your buttons, your inputs tags and the like. So then I have my proposed solution because actually this project is not a small project. Okay, so I was working on creating a proposal on how we can improve the experience of WhatsApp. So okay, so this will also serve as my prototypes, okay, as my mockup. So I have this, okay, a lot of screens, right? A lot of screens. So okay, like I said that you can also include what's called like a video, like a prototype, okay? But here is a video. So I created a short video of what I was expecting and what users should be expecting on the WhatsApp. So that's just it. Okay, then that's it. Okay, so It depends on what you want to work on. So I've been saying that, okay, just make sure these things, these informations here are there. You can then proceed to include more. Okay, just to have something like this. These are what recruiters are always after in your design case study. So user research, initial concept and sketches, information architecture. So let me show you another one. Okay, another case study. So let me show you this one. Yeah. Okay, so this project was actually based on uh trying to create a platform that can help to combat or eradicate spread of fake news. Cannot eradicate it, can only help to reduce it. Okay. So then I have something like about the project, just the project overview. Okay, so you can have something like this that tells people about. So I made mention of something like the problem and solution. Okay, so this is the problem I want to solve, and this is the solution I was able uh to work on. Okay, then I also make use of design thinking process here in this section, where I have my all over the design thinking in a breakdown. Okay, so the defining, ideating, uh designing and testing. Okay, so I also have the discovery stage, the discovery phase. Okay, so I adopted the design thinking approach to address the information. Okay, so I also have my reports here, user survey reports. So these are my relevant user survey reports. Then I have my user persona. So this part of the US deliveries I have. So I have user personas. I also have user story. Okay, so you should include every damn thing you worked on. Okay, so we made mention of affinity diagram when we were talking about synthesizing and analyzing data. So that based on some relevant information. So based on information that are relevant. Okay, so I have this also, and I included my user flow. How does the user flow looks like? So then I move on to low fidelity. Okay, so this my mid fidelity, and this is my design system or style guide. I mean, so I have the colors I use, the logo. Okay, the logo is also a design component. Okay, you can also include that. I have the typography I use, how I made that. Okay, so I also have my icons. These are part of my design component. I have buttons there. Okay, this is also my design component. This is the nav. Okay, so you can include every damn thing you worked on. Okay, so these are other components I worked on. Okay, so then I move on to, we also have something we call human interface guidelines. Okay, just like a guidelines of what user can see. Okay, you can see how this actually is. It's kind of a broadening aspect whereby you are the reader takes to understand a lot about the interface. Okay, so and a lot. I just had few, right? So I also made the users testing. Okay, that user testing was actually not backed with research. Okay, so I just had few guys tell them to help me work on the what design. Okay, I sent out the design prototype to them, and this was the, I can remember. So this is the actual thing they made mention of, to have like a subcategories of news. Okay, so then that's just like a report of my case. I mean user testing. Then I have the official design, the main design, right? So this is just the onboarding screen. I have other screens here, the main screens, and yeah. Okay, so I also have dark mode of my design. Okay, so that's just it. Okay, so you can just have like a closing remark here. Okay, so that's what the design case study actually looks like. Okay, you don't have anything to worry about. So after you've designed your after you've created your design, you just have to gather every information you use, everything you use, just to gather it in one file. That is what is called a design case study. Okay, so if you now have something like just a few design, okay, let me show you this. Let me show you this. Okay, just few designs that does not include this all of this, just a few design that does not include all of that. Okay, so you can't say that uh that's a case study. It's just like a that's you can't call that a case study. Okay, so just something like this. You don't even I didn't even mention of what's it called, research and everything, so you can't call this a case study. Okay, so and it will be advisable not to include this kind of thing in your portfolio. Okay, or you can have it at the other side. Okay, but the first priority project should be a case study, because the recruiters out there or the hiring managers out there, they are not always looking for pleasing design or all the other thing. Even AI can do design. AI can create designs. Okay, what they are looking for exactly is how you make the design decisions. Okay, how you actually try to come up with uh this strategy and your user research. Okay, what was the how did you conducted your user research, and how did you try to synthesize and analyze the data you got. Okay, so that's what they are always after. Okay, so this is now what we call the design thinking, I mean the design case study. Now let's talk about design guidelines and instincts. Okay, so what is meant by design guidelines? Okay, these are guidelines that you can use to improve in your UX design. Okay, after you've designed and everything, these are things you should look out for. Okay, even during your designs. The first one is visibility of system status. So keeping user informed about what is going on through appropriate feedback within a reasonable time. So if you are creating a product or an interface, for instance, so you should let the user be informed about these things. Okay, so for instance, if you are creating a form whereby users need to include their password, okay, just have something like uh a section whereby you just tell the users to, okay, this password needs to be 8 digits, or yeah, 8 digits. It needs to have uppercase and the likes. Okay, just let them be informed about what you're doing. Now the second one is match system between real world. Okay, so if you are working on something, try to speak users language. Okay, that's even very important. So in this aspect, we are not talking about you designing for uh people that speak English, for instance, you are not using Arabic to design that. We didn't even interact with it. Okay, so but that's not what we're talking about here. Okay, so what we're talking about is quick things that people have interacted with before, that people understand. Okay, you don't need to be explaining your design before they need to interpret what you mean by this, what you mean by this. Try to speak user language. Okay, use what resembles their real world experience. Okay, so and also we have the next one, because these guidelines I made mention of 10 guidelines here. Okay, so the third one is user control and freedom. Give them opportunities to change their minds or reverse from an action. Okay, you should have in your design. Okay, whenever user want to make especially when users want to make importance decisions. Okay, important decisions, whereby maybe for instance you are creating a fintech platform where user can transfer money and the likes. Okay, so you now creating that interface, you go to an interface whereby user just input the maybe they want to send their money, input the recipient's account details and every other things, then the amount also. You just click on send and the money went. No, you should have another section, okay, whereby user confirm that payment. That okay, yes, I want to send it. So that is giving them opportunity to revert from that action if peradventure they decide not to send it. Okay, something like that, or something like a progressive uh journey. Maybe whenever user click on something, okay, you should give them like few seconds, okay, that they can still cancel this particular thing. Okay, like a few seconds. I don't know if you have encountered something like that. Okay, so like a few seconds that, oh, I think I can still make some decision within this few time. Okay, just like giving them opportunity to revert from that action. Then we also have consistency and standards. So in your design, we were talking about that you should have a consistent design. Okay, so ensure users never question whether different words or actions mean the same thing. If your design is consistent, okay, they don't need to question anything. For instance, what I mean by that is you using a particular primary color. Okay, so for instance, you are using blue for your design. So meaning that that blue, whenever you have blue, user needs to understand that I think I want to make a high priority decision here, okay, an importance decision here. Okay, they get to understand that you're now using another color in another section. User will want to question, okay, what does it mean? I don't even understand. Okay, because that's not what they've been used to in your design. Okay, so you need to be consistent in your design. Okay, so the fifth one here is error prevention. Okay, so even in your design, you need to try to create a section whereby you can prevent error. Show them a preview before performing action. A typical example is that example I made earlier, the inputting password, for instance. So you tell users, okay, this is what we need in this password to make it a strong password. User an uppercase, 8 digits, and a symbol, okay, something like that. Okay, so you should tell the user before even doing that. Okay, not that after inputting any information you now be saying incorrect password, invalid password, or something like that. So you should have that. Give recommendation and apply constraints. So that's a typical example of how you can prevent error. Then we also have recognition rather than recall. Okay, so let user understand this thing before even they think of, whenever they see something for the first time, let them be able to recognize it. Okay, not that they need to be cracking their head to understand. Okay, this is what this is. So try to minimize the load on your screen by making actions or elements clearly visible. Okay, so your screen needs to be what, to have just little notes. Okay, try to minimize the loads so that they will be able to recognize it. So we also have flexibility and efficiency of use. So you should create a flexible interface that allows users to customize functions. Okay, flexible interface that they can interact with very flexibly. Okay, so we also have aesthetic and minimalist. Your design needs to be beautiful, okay, even if it's not, people won't actually interact with it because we have a lot of pleasing and aesthetic pleasing designs out there, even if they are not that function. Okay, so you should have aesthetic design and minimalist. So what I want to emphasize on is this minimalist design. So you should have information that are only relevant in your design. So interface should only contain relevant informations. Okay, interface should only contain relevant information elements. Then we also have what is called help users recognize or diagnose and recover from errors. Okay, so even if after trying to prevent that error, users still make mistakes. Okay, so a typical example that I've been making mention of is uh the password of a thing. Okay, so even after you've created something like enter 8 digits, uppercase and symbols and the likes, so user still tends to make mistakes. Okay, so you can just after that maybe they click on it and there's an error, so let them recover from it by creating stuff that are letting them know, okay, this is what this is where the mistakes comes from, or put error messages telling user that what happened and when and how they can recover from it and help them recover from it. Okay, so we also have help and documentation. So your design needs to be you should have a documentation. So okay, so a very simple and explanatory one example is maybe in your design we talk about what two tip is, right? So two tip is actually very important in this aspect. Maybe for instance, whenever user just over on a particular element, they get to see information about it. Okay, this is what this thing is, this is what this thing is. Okay, before they even interact with it. So, and also another thing is try to create a documentation for your design. So let's and you should only include relevant information in your documentation, and don't make excessive documentation. Okay, so that's the 10 heuristics, design heuristics, made by I think it's Tel Normans and Nelson Newmans and one man like that. So okay, so these 10 guidelines are to be what uh you should take note of all of these 10 guidelines. Okay, so okay, we've come to an end of this slide. Okay, so like I said earlier, okay, let me show you what US documentation guidelines actually means in your design. Okay, so for instance, well, if I click on this element now and I use Shift Alt, you get to see the spacing. Okay, you get to see the spacing of that element. So it's mostly used by developers. And also, as a designer, if you just want to see the spacing of this element to other one, you can just use this. Okay, so you can see the spacing. It has a margin and also outer spacing. Okay, so like that. That's what uh US documentation guidelines. Okay, so guys, I said I'll be dropping some links for the case studies to explore and how you can create a case study. I mean, just case studies that you can try to see and how they do everything. Okay, so I will drop that in the comment section. And if you have any question, don't forget to drop that in the comment section. I'll be attending to any question anytime. Okay, so thank you guys, and we've come to an end of this topic, US documentation or design case study. Thank you guys, and have a lovely day. Okay, thank you.